Festival in Fort Wayne, Indiana, there's no such thing as a bad apple.
Just what?
Indulge in apple dumplings.
It's an apple. It doesn't have any skin on it, and then wrapped in dough and deep fried. That has caramel on it.
Partake of apple petals.
Better than apple dumplings.
Yeah, it's cutthroat around here at the Johnny Appleseed Festival.
Sample apple sausages.
Do we know if Johnny Appleseed ate apple broth? Sure, why not?
Fort Wayne is where John Chapman, better known as Johnny Appleseed, died more than 170 years ago. Johnny is buried here. At least the locals like to think so.
It's very questionable. It's in fact the grave of John Chapman.
Turns out there's much that's misunderstood about the man many of us came to know through that 1948 Walt Disney cartoon.
You know the man can't take no rest if he aims to plant the whole darn wilderness in apple trees.
True or false, Johnny Appleseed was a simpleton with a tin pot hat who sprinkled seeds on the American frontier so that pioneer kids would have healthy snacks.
The hat's pretty accurate. The rest I'd have to say is false. Sort of brim of
Howard Means wrote a book about the real Johnny Appleseed.
He was not a simpleton at all. No, he's a very complicated man with a very intense and deep spiritual life.
The real Johnny was a barefoot ascetic who was at one with nature.
A man has appeared who seems to be almost independent of corporeal wants and sufferings. He goes barefooted, can sleep anywhere, in-house or out of house, and live upon the coarsest and most scanty fare.
I owe the Lord so much for everything I see.
Did he sing?
There are no accounts of his singing.
It's a bummer, because that part's really nice in the Disney cartoon.
But Johnny did sell lots of apple trees, from Pennsylvania to Indiana.
He started nurseries at the edge of the frontier, actually started them before civilization got there. Land companies would sell you, say, 100 acres on the condition that you planted an orchard. And so you had a guy sitting there waiting to sell you these seedlings.
The fruits borne by those seedlings, though, weren't exactly appetizing.
I think that is what Johnny Appleseed's apples would have looked more or less like.
And those apples weren't for eating.
They were used for hard cider.
Alcoholic.
Yeah, alcoholic, yeah. There was a lot of alcohol drunk on the frontier because it was a safe drink. Pure water was impossible to find, for the most part.
So Johnny was pushing more than West.
He was, yeah, right, yeah.
At Don Gagelin's cider mill in Fort Wayne, the alcoholic apple juice is flowing.
My grandfather started this in 1929.
1929 was during Prohibition.
It was. I told these guys when they started the hard cider business, they said, here's the first taste. And I said, well, that's not the first, that's the first legal batch to come out.
In fact, it was Prohibition that turned the apple into the prototypical healthy snack with a slogan to match.
The apple a day for health was an effort by apple growers after Prohibition came along to find a new use for their product.
There's so much we don't know about this most American fruit.
Golden Delicious is an apple that was found originally in West Virginia, but we know that the gene came out of Kazakhstan.
That's right, apples originated in the Central Asian region of Kazakhstan.
Next thing you're going to tell me is that baseball came from Kazakhstan.
Phil Forsleen has been called the modern Johnny Appleseed. In the 1990s, as curator of the Department of Agriculture's apple collection, Phil went to Kazakhstan, where he found whole forests of wild apples.
In one of the forests were trees that were probably 45 feet tall, and some of the trunks were about 3 feet in diameter.
Phil and his team collected over 150,000 seeds.
This is what I call Kazakhstan recreated right here in Geneva, New York.
And grew a forest of their own here in upstate New York. Boy, that's a spitter. And most of the apples here are spitters.
Ooh.
either too dried out,
It's a little like sawdust.
or astringent.
Does somebody have a handy gallon of water nearby?
But a very few are downright tasty.
This is the 1%.
Yeah,
This is really good.
it really is.
And all of them together may prove invaluable to the survival of the apple.
Why was it important to bring all these seeds back?
Well, the gene pool that breeders were using prior to our going to Kazakhstan was very narrow.
Not much wider than a few commercially popular varieties like the Red Delicious, the Golden Delicious, and the Macintosh.
We've expanded the gene pool. We now have genes that can contribute some significant disease resistance to our apples. So we can probably eventually grow apples with fewer pesticides.
Which will make for healthier apples, old favorites, and new kinds, like the highly anticipated one being developed in Washington State. Grower Scott McDougall is betting the orchard that the Cosmic Crisp will be the new it apple when it rolls out in 2019.
There's so much excitement over it that literally there will be 12 to 13 million trees planted within the next 3 to 4 years.
With its sparkling rosy cheeks, the Cosmic Crisp is pomological royalty, descended from the beloved Honeycrisp, and the result of more than 20 years of breeding at Washington State University, where scientists test for firmness, juiciness, and taste. It's anyone's guess what Johnny Appleseed would think of the Cosmic Crisp. But one thing seems likely.
I think he really would have liked the Fort Wayne Festival.
I didn't. I couldn't sell books there to save my life.
I hope you went on the ride. The thing that spins around, that crazy thing, I love that.
Faster, faster, faster! Wow, yes, yes!